Here we are. We're back again.
Yeah. Sorry. It's my apologies. Tom, when you asked me what time you were free, I said Friday in the afternoon, because it meant that none of my clients could call me, because in the Middle East, it's their weekend, and in Australia, it would be about 10 or 12 o'clock at night. And then one of my clients called. I declined the call. I had to send him a quick message saying I'm really sorry. So I apologize.
Yeah, no problem at all. I think it shows you what happens in business. Sometimes there's some unexpected hurdles to get over.
Wow.
So I wanted to, because a lot of people who try and start companies or have started a company always think about a sales process, and they think about how they're going to turn somebody from not knowing who they are into a customer. So I'd like to dive into how you guys go about that right now, and if that plans to change in the future. So how would somebody who doesn't know who you are become a customer in your process?
Okay, so I will do some initial work or backgrounds, knowing who's busy in the market. So, for example, I'd want to know who's got upcoming projects. And you can only imagine oil and gas industry, these projects are in the billions of dollars, literally. So I know that there'll be a small piece of the breadcrumbs, let's call it, will be in the recruitment side of things, but that little breadcrumb will be a very, very large breadcrumb for any company, in recruitment. So you find out about the project. And then it's trying to find out who's the kind of key people to speak within, and what the project's about, who would, where you could benefit them, whether it's, visas, personnel, payrolling solutions. And then I'd be approaching them. It could be, an email introduction to say, look, this is our background. This is who we are. This is where I feel that we can assist your company. Are you free for an informal phone call? Some people might say, okay, great. When can you fly over and meet us in Iraq? And I'm like, well, it's not as easy to swing a 10-hour flight to Iraq without kind of really something concrete. But it's not been unknown. We have taken the risk, and we have flown at the drop of a hat. It's not the most successful way of doing it. I wouldn't encourage people to do that, because you will go through monies, which is not really necessary at the beginning. So that's key, is getting that initial pitch, having a company, having that opportunity to tell them who you are, your story, why use you, because recruitment is a billions and billions pounds industry. I mean, it's substantial. In every industry they use it, from the big corporate companies, your big corporate companies, your Microsofts, your Facebooks, whatever, they all use it. So it's, how do we differentiate ourselves, and what can we offer that somebody else might not offer? Where can we be quite clever, unique, bespoke, whatever? But you then realize that everyone uses it or tries to use the same jargon as you use. We are a bespoke recruitment company. We are specialists in blah, blah, blah. So I think they've got to buy into you and want to work with you. And I think maybe some people might find it quite, I don't know, a recruitment consultant might find it quite scary to pick up the phone to a CEO, but I love that. I thrive on it. That CEO has kids like I have kids. That CEO probably likes a drink in the weekend with his buddies, or watches the sports, or glass of wine and dinner 3 nights a week. But maybe other people don't think like that, because they think, oh, well, he's got a company that's, he's the country manager overseeing a $5 billion project. But the way I see it is, they are literally like me and you. They are the same people, and it's how you can relate to them and how you can win them over.
And it is a good point. It is like it's a very personal approach, and it's one that a lot of B2B companies in general use, because you know who your target market is, or quite often the exact person that you're trying to market to is the other one, like you said there, like okay, this project's on the go, and these 4, 5, 6, 7 people are probably going to be the decision makers, or they're at least going to know who the decision maker is, and so it's about having interactions with them, which makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I'm sure you're doing a good job of that, and you have done in the past. And that's, like you say, about building relationships and selling yourself as much as possible. Going to that next step, and this is where I've seen, I can give you some examples in a minute, actually, of where recruitment companies go from, because to duplicate that process, you need to duplicate yourself very specifically, be very good at networking and getting in the door and then being able to pitch like that. But you can also go a bit of a broader brand strategy and have those people come to you, right? That's not necessarily the easiest way to get a company off the ground, but is that something you think about long term? And if so, what are you thinking about doing around that kind of topic area?
You know, they say, you know, money begets money, or, you know, make money work for you. And I believe if you deliver and you get good testimonies from companies, and you've got good marketing, and your branding can show where you've been successful at assisting other companies, yeah, why would a company not come to you? You know, if you've done it, it's tried and tested. There will be some exec search companies who will get, the big boys will come to them and they will only go to them because they know that they're specialists in that, and they'll get the CEO positions that are 300K, 500K for you know, some of the FTSE 500 companies and whatnot. For me, we're trying to win tenders just now, and that's what we're going after. I know if we win them, that companies will come to us, subject to us delivering on those tenders, and we will put out some, you know, aggressive marketing campaigns to say, look, this is what we've done, this is who we are, this is our background, and then I hope that people will come to us. There was a time for about 3 years in the industry where I was probably the go-to guy for a very niche market within the oil and gas space. And I know the Halliburton, Schlumbergers, and Baker Hughes of this world were directly coming to myself. Crazy, it was literally, but I had networked so well across the candidates, across about 30 different countries. And because of that, the candidates also wanted to work directly for me. And so if clients were calling them, they say, look, we want to go through him. He will pay us on time. He will look out for me for future contracts if this is only a short contract, so for you and whatnot. So again, it's building a brand, and then hopefully the fruits of your labor will come after.
Yeah, absolutely. I as you mentioned, I worked in some recruitment companies before, and one of them I worked in London, Talent Edge, Talent Arc. The directorship there were very aware of not only developing individual recruitment consultants to be able to go and generate their own business and things like that, but the importance of building brand. And they done a event every year. So they recruited finance staff in London for media and technology companies, right? Really quite niche. And so they hosted an event every year that was finance within media and tech, nothing to do with recruitment, but they were the host of the party.
Great.
And I look back on that now and I think it's such a brilliant move, because your positioning in that industry is a trusted advisor. Like the MD of that company would sit on a panel with all these like CFOs and, you know, senior leadership within the biggest marketing and marketing and tech companies in the world, and sit there and, you know, host the show and whatever. And that's just like brand positioning goes through the roof, because it's like you're no longer just.
You need monies to do that as well, and that's really important. But they've speculated to accumulate. They've probably sat down, the team and whatnot, and they've said, well, look, how do we differentiate ourselves? And that's a really clever move, for sure. I have gone to, or been invited to dinners or represented old companies and whatnot, where I've sat down with various different companies, and it's a great idea to get yourself out. I think a lot of people do hide behind a phone or a computer screen, but getting yourself out there as well and physically going to see a client, albeit if they're based in the UK and whatnot, and they're on your doorstep. You know, there's so many companies in London, you know, digital space or whatnot. And I, when I was the oil and gas sales director of one company, I also started overseeing the IT side of things. And most of the companies were based in London. And I used to say to the consultants, get out there, go.
Go see them.
Have that meeting, and if they want to have a coffee, maybe offer them a beer after work. Make it informal, and they actually appreciated it. You know, clients do appreciate that. It's a different approach to it. It's very different for us because our clients are all international.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you can be clever in the way that you position that in a similar sort of context. Like podcasting has come such a major platform. Like I think of the way I think about branding a recruitment company, and if I was to go back to any, what would I do? I would become the industry magazine. That's what I would become. I'd be the industry magazine that all of the senior leadership teams, whoever the decision maker is in your industry, I want them reading my industry magazine. Because then at the bottom, when it says, by the way, we've got this job post open, you're just going to have loads of candidates and clients and people calling you, are you struggling to hire, call us type of thing. And you can just always be in front of people without being this like aggressive, like, because it is one thing, you're going after people who attend, they've got tenders out, they're going to be in a recruitment process, they are looking for your help. So that's, stage one, go after your lowest hanging fruit, go after the people are currently need what you serve. Like, that's a really good idea. And then I think, how do we brand on top of that? How do we get the people that are in unknowns, or perhaps they don't even go out to tenure because they just go directly to, they're like, I'm not tendering, I'm just going to that company. Like, because they are clearly the industry expert. And I always think you can probably make a digital publication around your industry, which is like an interview show type of thing. Like if you had a round table, 3 or 4 senior execs within your industry every week, and that's, the content that you put out every week, you're speaking of 3 or 4 senior execs, and eventually that grows to every senior exec in your industry is listening
Tom,
to it.
Are you trying to pitch to me to try and work with a company?
Yeah, why not?
I'm liking it. It's a good idea for sure. No, it's clever for sure.
Yeah.
Again, it's about, you're right. It's being smart. It's being different. It's just finding a way where, you can pick up business because you've offered a service that maybe someone else is not, and you've been unique, and that's great. The one you talked about, the round table, we did discuss that back in the day.
Yeah.
I say back in the day, but a couple of years back, and we said, why don't we do that? Why don't we just get some of the smartest oil and gas people at the table, and get a topic going and do this and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe in the near future, when we've got a thriving office at PS Capital, we will.
Yeah, I think
you can
should
host it.
Yeah, why not? Well, this is the thing, though, like, because recruitment consulting. So this is something I think about when I was one. You have such a unique perspective on the market because you know the inside and outs of like hundreds of different companies, and they all structure themselves slightly different. They all have slightly different quirks and different things within them. So I'm not an accountant, but I could quite easily quiz a bunch of accountants on what their strategies are for financing a media company, because I've interviewed 700 of them. So I've got 12 questions that I can ask on a roundtable. It's not too hard to host. I don't have to be the expert. I just have to be the expert on asking you the right questions.
It's funny because you don't wake up one day. I've done my masters and my bachelor's, etc. Well, I've not actually finished my masters just yet. Three. I'm probably about 6 months away. And when I look back, I totally just changed my thoughts there. But I've just totally lost myself there. What we're talking about.
Putting together, being the expert in the room as a recruiter.
Yeah. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't go like that. Oh, I'm going to be a recruitment consultant, and I'm not going to do it in oil and gas. And then eventually, you start to know so much about an industry you've never ever in your life thought you would ever know.
No.
And whether that's aviation, aerospace, IT, big data, and you get a really good grasp of the market, and you speak to candidates regularly.
Yeah,
you're right. You know what's going on. You know who's hiring, or you do. Companies that hire, upcoming projects, and you become privy to quite some good information, and then you utilize that when you are speaking to companies, and they say, okay, this person actually knows what he's talking about. And you get given the opportunity. That's what I go back to about, when I call up a client or send out a good marketing campaign to clients, say, look, we know you've recently been awarded this, as have this other company. We know that this company's winning it. We're helping them with this side of things, the project managers or whatever. We know you're doing the instrumentation designing and blah, blah, blah. This is something that we've done on a project here, there, and there. And next thing you know, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. Let's see what they can do. Let's talk about giving them an opportunity.
Yeah.
But then you've got to take that opportunity, because if you don't deliver, well,
Yeah.
thank you, but no thank you. You know,
That's always the thing, and you think so long and hard about sales and marketing, which is great, but you know, your product at the end of the day is the tipping point of that, like scalability, getting that repeat customer and stuff. And it's always an interesting one in the recruitment world, because your product is another human being, like, that you've got no control over, because it's their personal life as to how they conduct themselves to work and things like that. So it's always a funny
trust
one.
me, I've had people show up, and I've had a phone call from HR and getting an issue about cleanliness, and I'm sitting there going like that, but I can't tell the guy to go for a shower and put on deodorant and cologne before he goes in on his first day. But it's happened. You know, you're right.
Excuse me, mate. Could you just allow them in?
Yeah, but that is the reality of it. I've also had other people going in, and you know, they've smashed the interview. They've been brilliant, and the pre-screening that I've done, I'm very comfortable sending them across. Now, this has not happened many times, but they've gone in, they've just maybe not cut the mustard, or maybe they've been quite an opinionated person, and then you're right, but I'm dealing with people as opposed to a product. You know, but look, you've ordered a product from Amazon, and you know, might have a 4.7 out of 5 rating, and it's not been a good product for you, and you've sent it back. So that's the way I kind of see it as, in some capacity.
Absolutely. It's just always it's a really interesting dynamic, because you're, you know, selling a person, another person almost. It's as well as obviously the consultative approach to it, which I think a lot of people overlook as to how big an influence that has. How do you find that, actually? How do you, because I think people really overlook that in both sides of it, where the recruitment consultant does sit in the middle, but does more of a role than just connecting two dots.
Oh, for sure. There's so much that goes into it. I mean, there really is. I mean, you're satisfying two parties, but you've also got to satisfy your company, because if you've got to find a good candidate, right? So you've got to do the vetting. Now, it could be a really niche position, and that could take considerable time to find that individual. But you've got to find what ticks his boxes. You know, it might not just be about more money. You know, it might be location, closer to home, more time with the family and whatnot. A lot of the time in the oil and gas industry, we'll send somebody away for 1 month, and then they come back and they go back out for 1 month, and that's their rotation offshore, whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes somebody might say, well, I'm over that. I want to be close to my family. I want to be at home and whatnot. Then you've got to try and, you know, satisfy your client. You know, they want somebody to be wherever, in Kurdistan, Iraq, right? And that's where they've got to be located, and staying in a guarded compound, which is what we've had to do in the past. That means security. They get picked up at the airport, armed security guards, and you're sitting there going like that. This is crazy. So to explain that to somebody, now don't get me wrong, oil and gas industry, somebody will be used to that, but you know, I've set people over maybe the first international position, and it's speaking to them about it, and it's time after time reassuring them, giving them photos of where they're going to be staying, who's going to be picking them up, everything you can imagine. See, I've seen it in the oil and gas industry. But then you've got your company is well, we've got to make monies, because we're providing a service, and money's on. Well, we're doing a lot of things. It's the visa aspect, the payroll aspect, insurances, and that's everything, you know, from your medical, your transportation, and blah blah blah. And it's putting it all together. Now that's a lot. That's not just a case of me getting a CV, saying, "Oh, it looks good," and sending it over. Okay, let's take the guy on. You know, that is a full process. So over the years, I've had to build relationships with several different entities, and yeah, it's a process. But I like that process. You know, and that again, maybe that makes us more bespoke than other recruitment companies. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I just always think, when people think of recruitment, they don't think of all the little bits that you actually do when you play that middle role of trying to balance what everybody wants, you know, and how do you get a situation so everybody wins and everybody's happy? Because ultimately, you know, going to work is like 80% of your life. It's like of the time that you're awake, at least. So,
Yeah.
it's a very important thing. It's a very personal thing for somebody to take a new job, especially like on what you do. Just you could be thousands of miles away from home, on a oil rig somewhere. That's got to be the right environment for them, or the right type of place. And I know there was a big thing that we done in London, and why it was like media and tech companies specifically, like within finance and not just any finance role. And it's because the finance director working for a creative agency, that finance director has to know how to speak to a creative director, which is a very different person to a CTO.
Yeah.
Like, and the way their mind thinks. It's like, why have we got this item bill for £1 million for a plant? And it's like, because it looked good. It's like, how are we going to measure the ROI on that? We're not going to. Okay. And they have to be okay with that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to put the jigsaw together.
Yeah.
And there's so many different aspects to it. But you try and find a way that works for you guys, and you're never going to win every time.
Yeah.
You're not.
No.
But you've got to try and learn from several of the aspects, and I try and learn every single day in life, and that's with everything from doing school homework with my 6-year-old daughter, and what works, what doesn't work, and but yeah, recruitment is a funny industry because it's not a product. It is a person, and it's a person's livelihood. And like you said, it's 80% of their life, wherever they're out and they're working and whatnot, to provide for their families. And you've got to try and find a happy medium, but you're never going to get it perfect. That's it. That's the industry I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good one. I'm getting quite conscious of your time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, although I could chat all day quite clearly. I wanted to just leave a couple of words here. What, if there's people watching this and they're thinking, should I jump into making a business? Should I take that leap? Whether it be in recruitment or another sector, what are some sort of, I suppose, words of wisdom that you might give to somebody starting out, especially in a time like this?
Or am I going to be, if someone doesn't do it successfully now, am I going to be charged for
hold you accountable for it? Yeah.
Yeah, apparently. But no, for me, when we started this new project, I wanted like-minded individuals on the project with me. I did. That was so important to me, was bringing in Eamon and Steve. I needed people to do the other stuff to the business that I wasn't going to do. That wasn't my forte, that was really key. Now, there are some companies that are just one-man bands, one-woman band, whatever, but it's, for me, that was key. I wanted people who were hungry, even with companies that are turning over. I mean, under asset management, one of my business partner has 1.5 billion under asset management. So he doesn't need this, but he wanted it.
Yeah.
And Eamon, I think this was his 9th recruitment company. And again, it's a desire to go into another industry. He hadn't done oil and gas before. And that's key. It's finding the right mix. I think you've got to be risk adverse if you're going to start a company, because it's a risk. It's a massive risk, especially if you've got a young family and whatnot. That's that added pressure of delivering. But if you've got that mindset and you've got that competitive kind of look in life, perhaps it's a good time to give it a shot now, because of what's going on. Try and find ways to diversify, or try and become a bespoke or unique entity. And but believe it. You've got to believe it, because if you don't, then you're just the same as everyone else, and your clients or prospective clients, they're not gonna buy your service or your product from you. But there's lots of ups and downs. But I'm hoping this time we are PS Capital is going to be something special in the very near future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really think I mean, you've got the right, all sorts of attitudes, I think, in terms of, I'm going to surround
Thank you.
myself with people that are, my opposite, so to speak, give myself some mentorship and experience to, build off of the things that I know I don't have experience in so far. And like I said before, that attitude of like, well, this is a problem and I'm going to solve it, I think that goes a long way. And I think that to me, when I've seen or spoken with or interviewed people who, running $100 million companies versus, and how they got there and what kind of attitudes they've always got that one. That's always a massive one that they've got. They've got this relentless, like, this is a problem and I'm solving it. And that's not, I want to make money. Like, it's always that,
that's obviously the aim, is to be successful and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the right ingredients, unfortunately, you're not going to get there. So,
yeah,
we our plan is to grow something where not only are my kids proud of and whatnot, and the family. I want to have a company in Glasgow, Scotland, where people love going into work. It's such a big amount of time that somebody gives in their life, and if I can kind of create an emphasis, we've got a family atmosphere. But I genuinely, that's what I want to try and build. But you'll have your swings, your ups and downs, and it's how you can manage how you can ride the waves and make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story.
I apologize for the interruption.
Yeah, no problem at all. That's great. And thank you everybody for listening along at home. We've enjoyed having you here. I will piece the two halves of this interview together and put them out as well again, so you can see them all in one show. Thanks everybody for joining in today, and thanks again, Paul.
I appreciate you, Tom. Take care.
Cheers. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye-bye.